starting, the moment we've all been waiting for. Ethereum finally blasted through the $4,000 resistance for the first time since 2021. How many more signs do you need that liquidity is shifting? This is a major shift in the market's internal gears that could set the stage for one of the strongest altcoin seasons we've ever seen. For months, ETH has been lagging behind, consolidating while BTC took the spotlight. But that move above 4K changes everything. It signals that capital is finally rotating down the risk ladder, and when ETH leads, the rest of the market tends to follow. If you were subscribed, you would know that I already predicted this capital shift to ETH months ago after a few key indicators. First off, we saw Ethereum ETF inflows ramping up. Then we saw public companies start to list ETH as their primary treasury asset and buy up hundreds of millions worth. Then BlackRock's former head of digital assets jumped ship to join one of those companies called SharpLink. Not to mention Eric Trump famously doubling down on ETH and bragging on Twitter about how he was right. And now, looking at the charts, it seems like those investments have paid off now. On the 7-day charts, Ethereum has been on a strong uptrend in the last week, climbing around 15% and holding near the upper end of its trading range. As long as it stays above short-term support around 4,170, momentum looks good for another push to higher levels. Zooming out to the yearly time frame, Ethereum has rebounded strongly from the mid-year lows, gaining over 60% and breaking into fresh yearly highs. If it can hold above the $4,000 level, the momentum can carry it towards testing its previous all-time highs. And here's where it gets crazy. We've seen this exact setup before. Back in previous cycles, every time ETH broke a key psychological barrier while Bitcoin held near highs, that predicted when the floodgates would open for altcoins. Right now, the market is primed for it. We've got strong ETF inflows, institutional interest building, and metrics aligning across a lot of the major L1s and 2s. The key thing everyone is waiting for is for Ethereum to stay above $4,000 on the weekly close. So since ETH broke $4,000 on around August 8th or 9th, depending on your time zone, it needs to stay above that level up until the 15th or 16th. That would give investors the confidence that ETH breaking 4,000 wasn't just some fluke, it's actually able to stay above these levels consistently. As of now, the ETFs are one of the biggest supporting pillars for ETH's price. With ETH spot ETFs seeing heavy buying pressure since launch, institutions are finally getting exposure to Ethereum the same way they've been loading up on Bitcoin. This creates a steady base of demand, which is exactly what you want heading into an altcoin season window. But let's look at some recent headlines to see what's been going on lately. We've just seen a major confidence boost for the broader altcoin market thanks to XRP's legal case finally resolving. The XRP SEC battle finally came to an end, and odds for an XRP ETF approval shot up around 80%. This isn't just a win for XRP holders, it's good for the entire altcoin space because it eases regulatory uncertainty and opens up the door for more alt-focused ETFs down the road. Plus, with less legal risks, it encourages institutions to put more capital into higher risk assets. To keep with the trend, Harvard's endowment, one of the largest and most sophisticated institutional investors in the world, recently disclosed a $117 million allocation into Bitcoin's ETFs. The fact that we now have some of the largest educational endowments in the world adding crypto ETFs into the mix is a huge sign of trust. And while this particular move is more focused on BTC, we've been seeing a trend of institutions just like we've seen in past cycles. First Bitcoin, then Ethereum, then everything else. But I think even Harvard would know never to keep funds on just one exchange. Hacks, outages, and black swan events happen, even on the big platforms. That's why I spread my trading across multiple exchanges. One of my main go-tos right now is WEEX. The fees are low, sign up is just with your email, and the interface is smooth for both spot and futures. Check the link in the description for a special bonus if you want to try them out. Now, I want to show you guys some important metrics next. First, the ETH BTC ratio. If you don't know, this ratio measures the price of Ethereum relative to Bitcoin by dividing ETH's price by BTC's price. For example, if Ethereum is trading at $4,000 and Bitcoin is trading at $100,000, the ratio would be 0.04. This metric is one of the most important indicators for tracking altcoin season because it shows whether Ethereum is gaining or losing strength compared to Bitcoin. When the ratio is rising, it means ETH is outperforming BTC, which historically signals early stages of alt season, as Ethereum often leads the move into other altcoins. When the ratio is falling, BTC is outperforming ETH, suggesting a more risk-off market where funds are more likely to go into Bitcoin. It's important to pay attention to ETH BTC because it gives you an idea of market sentiment and, more importantly, liquidity rotation patterns, which I'm going to jump into next. In past bull markets, breakouts on the ETH BTC chart have predicted explosive rallies across the rest of the altcoin market. And right now, ETH BTC is sitting just under 0.036. Now, this is a ratio we haven't seen since January of this year, but that was on the way down. If you look at the chart, we haven't seen a hike in ETH BTC this large since the one from March to May of the 2021 bull run. And we all know what happened after that. So the fact that we are now finally starting to see the same signal flashing is absolutely insane. But what can we learn from the signal? When you look at it and combine it with the increase in institutional interest, regulatory easing, and increased ETF inflows, they're all clear indicators that we are moving forward in the path to alt season. Take a look. This is the classic path to alt season, a pattern we've seen repeat in every major crypto bull cycle. It basically shows how liquidity trickles down from the safest crypto asset into riskier ones, with each step building momentum for the next. Understanding this flow is crucial if you want to stay ahead of the crowd. I'll explain. Phase 1 starts with Bitcoin. Money first flows into BTC as investors seek safety, liquidity, and a proven track record. This is especially true for institutional money, which often enters the market through Bitcoin before moving to other assets. As Bitcoin surges, it pulls in fresh capital and convinces sideline investors to jump in, creating the initial wave of bullish sentiment. But most of us know this already. Here's where it gets better. Phase 2 begins when Ethereum starts to outperform Bitcoin. This shift usually happens as confidence grows from BTC's rally and investors are willing to take on slightly more risk. Many rotate some of their Bitcoin profits into ETH, attracted by its smart contract ecosystem and its ability to lead the broader altcoin market. How do we tell when this phase is underway? Well, the biggest indicators would be Bitcoin dominance and the ETH BTC ratio, and that's why we just went over it. Not to mention, we're seeing more and more companies invest into ETH ETFs and adopt ETH as their main treasury asset. These are all signs that we are now well into phase 2. And phase 3 is where large cap altcoins come into play. Once Ethereum makes a strong move and is able to hold its price for long enough, capital rotates into other high cap projects like Solana, Avalanche, and BNB. These coins benefit from investor confidence, growing liquidity, and the desire to chase bigger percentage gains than ETH can offer at that stage of the cycle. In other words, people start to get a little greedy. So when these large caps go parabolic, it's a strong signal that altcoin interest is heating up across the board. That's when you end up in the final stage. Phase 4 is full-blown alt season. At this point, money flows into every corner of the market. Fundamentals take a backseat as speculation takes over, meme coins explode in value, and retail FOMO reaches peak levels. This is where you see the most extreme price moves in the shortest period of time, but it's also where the risk is at the highest. The key during this phase is to stay disciplined, because the reversal can be just as sharp as the run-up. If you're caught without a solid exit strategy, you might get screwed over. And if you want to keep tracking these setups in real time, my FireHustle VIP Discord is the place to be. I'm in there every single day breaking down charts, sharing market updates, and working with my team to give you the highest quality crypto education, macro insights, technical analysis, and portfolio strategies. You'll find the link in the description below. So to wrap it all up, yes, Ethereum broke $4,000, but we need to see it hold for at least a week. But even then, we're continuing to see strong institutional interest in the asset, and with that, the ETH BTC is climbing in a similar pattern that we saw during the 2021 bull run. The key now is to continue watching these metrics and see if they stay on track, and if so, it's another reason to believe we're on pace for the next phase of alt season. And that's it for today. Remember, just because I'm talking about a project doesn't mean you should blindly invest in it. None of this is financial advice. Always do your own research and understand the risk before making any investment decisions. If you're interested in the projects I'm watching closely, then come and join me in the Discord. And if you want more videos like this, then hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.